And actually, Spears, the more I think of it, you were a failure where you used to work too.
Since the inception of AEW, the company has attempted to fill the roster with the right mix of established talent as well as homegrown superstars. AEW features the likes of Chris Jericho, Jon Moxley, The Big Show, Christian, and even Mark Henry, all of whom attained great success in the WWE and are household names in the wrestling industry. There are also names which have made a name for themselves in AEW. Names such as Britt Baker, Eddie Kingston, and Jungle Boy all attained popularity mainly through AEW. However, most fans may be surprised to learn that there are a number of superstars who are now top stars in AEW that WWE actually outright rejected. But which ones were they? Well, join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 AEW wrestlers that WWE rejected. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists.
You spoke earlier about passion for WWE. Here's a superstar who has a ton of it in Trent Beretta.
Number 10, Scorpio Sky. Since debuting for AEW, Scorpio Sky has been positioned as one of the brightest young stars in the company. Sky, along with Kazarian, have become the first ever AEW Tag Team Champions in October 2019, and since then Scorpio has competed in a number of high-profile matches for the promotion. Now, WWE fans may recall that Sky actually portrayed the role of Harold during a segment between Kane and Daniel Bryan. The segment involved Kane and Bryan at anger management in an incredibly memorable segment. Unfortunately, Sky's portrayal of Harold wasn't strong enough for WWE to hire him full-time. According to Sky himself, WWE decided not to sign him a full-time deal because he wrestled for TNA. Taking to Twitter, Sky revealed, "WWE wanted to sign me, but because I did TNA a month before, I was off limits. So nobody can say I'm not there because I'm not good enough." Number 9, Big Swole. Big Swole is most well known for being one of the top female talents in AEW. Since her AEW debut, Swole has had a number of matches and even battled Dr. Britt Baker in a tooth and nail match at 2020's All Out pay-per-view. The Big Swole's WWE career slipped under the radar as she only made a few appearances for the company. Swole will lose to Nia Jax on an episode of Raw in 2016 and would even be part of the 2018 Mae Young Classic. However, she would be eliminated in the first round. Swole was never offered a WWE contract, and although this was at one stage a disappointing outcome for Swole, she hasn't let the experience hinder her in her brief time in the company. Speaking on the official AEW podcast, Swole would have nothing but positive comments to make about her time in the company. Swole would even share positive stories about Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar, and would even reveal that she told Lesnar she could whoop him.
I walked up to him and I was like, "Hey, Brock, right?" He's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "I just want to let you know that I could whoop your ass."
No. Number 8, Leather Bates. WWE fans may remember AEW star Leather Bates, now running NXT as Blue Pants. Blue Pants managed to get extremely over in NXT, and although she was incredibly popular with the fans, WWE decided not to sign her to a contract. Interestingly, although Bates made a number of appearances in NXT, the only contract she had was for merchandise, as at one stage Bates had a number of items on WWE Shop. Speaking on the official AEW podcast, Bates revealed that
about a good halfway point into it, they offered me a merchandise contract. Here, we want you to have a blue pants shirt. So I ended up having that contract. But again, I was never officially signed on their roster. It was I was pay-per-view appearance with no contract signed at all. It was just like, here, we're going to bring you in. Here's your money. Boom. Have a nice life. That's how it worked.
In relation to why she wasn't signed, she revealed,
I still don't really fully understand it, like living it and moving past it. I never really had a conversation saying, this is why we're going to sign you, or this is why we're not going to sign you. It was just one of those, hey, last time was a lot of fun. You want to come and try to do it again another time? All right, yeah. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Oh, hey, we're going to do a little run with house shows, and we want you to wrestle Sasha Banks for a couple house shows. Is that cool? Well, yeah, that'd be great.
Number 7, Peter Avalon. Before Peter Avalon made his debut in AEW with the infamous librarian character, Avalon would make one appearance on WWE television, and it ultimately didn't lead to WWE and Avalon working together again. He would compete in a tag team match on SmackDown in late 2017 and would team with Josh Carr to take on Luke Harper and Eric Rowan in what would be a complete squash match. It was clear that Avalon was brought in exclusively for a squash match and they didn't have any plans to sign him. Number 6. Frankie Kazarian. Frankie Kazarian over the past decade has attained a reputation for being one of the most reliable workers in the world. However, fans may be surprised to learn that WWE once had an opportunity to have Kazarian as part of their full-time roster, but ultimately decided against it. In 2005, Kazarian would be hired to wrestle mainly on WWE Velocity as part of the WWE's Cruiserweight division. He would wrestle some of the best names in the division, but sadly he didn't do enough to impress WWE officials and would be gone from the WWE by the summer of 2005. Although they missed out on the potential future star, it was Kazarian who got the last laugh, as he would go on to have a successful career in TNA and now in AEW. Number 5. Dr. Britt Baker. Over the past 12 months, Britt Baker has become the biggest star in AEW's growing female division. She would win the AEW Women's title at Double or Nothing in 2021, cementing a place at the top of AEW's Women's division. She would notably have a brief opportunity to get signed to WWE in 2016. She would wrestle against Nia Jax on an episode of Raw, but ultimately she wasn't signed to a full-time deal. Talking to former AEW champion Chris Jericho on the Talk is Jericho podcast, Baker would reveal,
at the very end of the camp, Canyon Ceman pulled me aside. And if you're an independent wrestler, Canyon Ceman is like the gatekeeper. You shall not pass or come on in to
And that's
WWE.
true. That's a great point.
Yeah. He told me, he's like, you really impressed a lot of people at this tryout. But as a father, I have a really hard time pulling someone from a professional degree for this business. And my heart just sank. So then a couple weeks later, I got an email from him saying, you have a lot of the qualities we look for. However, we don't have an opportunity for you at this time, but if you have the passion to succeed in this, you'll find a way to make this work throughout dental school. And I never forgot that, which it didn't work out with WWE, but it worked out to my advantage even better because I'm able to do both careers.
Number 4. Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus had a WWE run between 2012 to 2014. He would go under the name of Judas Devlin and he would have a number of matches in NXT, but he would fail to achieve the level of success he would later achieve in AEW. Discussing his WWE rejection with Taz, Luchasaurus actually revealed that someone in WWE virtually told him to quit wrestling altogether. He revealed, in 2013, when I was in developmental, they sat me down in a room after 6 months and said, wrestling is not for you. You're not cut out for it. Find another job. I could have taken that to heart and walked away because their style wasn't for me. They were right. Their style wasn't for me. I had to go off and find something completely different. I go out there and perform my way. I don't think I do anything I learned in wrestling school in my matches because it doesn't work for me. I do know what works. Number 3. Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega spent time in WWE's developmental system in 2005, but he was never given an opportunity to wrestle on WWE's main roster and to show the world what an amazing talent he is. Omega would go on to be one of the biggest names in pro wrestling history, attaining huge success in Japan, as well as more recently in AEW, where he is the top star in the promotion. Although they initially rejected him, they did offer him contracts later on. Notably in 2014, 15 and 2019, Omega was offered a huge WWE deal, however now Omega was the one to ultimately turn these down. Number 2. The Young Bucks. The Young Bucks would be rejected from WWE on 2 separate occasions. They once appeared on ECW in 2008 in a segment where they would impersonate DX in a memorable segment, however this failed to impress WWE officials enough for the talented duo to be offered a WWE contract. Fast forward to the summer of 2011 and the duo actually had an official WWE tryout. This ultimately led to a controversial run-in with Booker T, where Booker believed that Matt and Nick Jackson were being disrespectful. Nevertheless, the Young Bucks have become one of the biggest and most successful tag teams in the world, all without WWE's platform. And number 1, MJF.
I already know for a fact he's going to sit down in a chair, he's going to look at the camera and tell you that I haven't earned anything that I've gotten.
He hasn't earned a single thing.
MJF has become one of the top heels in the AEW over the past 2 years. He's had notable feuds with the likes of Cody Rhodes and Chris Jericho, and it's likely that he will win the AEW World title before he hangs up his boots. MJF would actually try out for the WWE's Tough Enough in 2015, however he would never make it onto the show. MJF would also appear at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2. He would act as a security guard to escort Samoa Joe to the ring, but Joe would push MJF against the wall, a segment which MJF and AEW have since mocked. Although he was rejected from WWE, he hasn't ruled out that he would consider WWE as a potential option once his AEW contract runs out.
What are you gonna do, Cody? You gonna try to fire me? You're gonna pull Tony Khan over the side and get me fired? Well, how about you do that, Cody? How about you fire me?
But there you have it, folks. 10 AEW wrestlers that WWE rejected. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.